That is, when the personal virtues of discipline and training are applied to our behavior towards the society, there is the birth of the set square having 4 right angles. Now there is a third implement of masonry called the square or the set square. See how the mason uses a set square to find out a right angle. Unless he has an instrument to find out the right angle, such corners of the room, he builds a room in a peculiar way. Unless he has an instrument to measure the right angle. So this is called the third implement of masonry. And a right angle is described as a discipline against an acute angle or obtuse angle. We have acute angles.
Nous avons des angles aigus
Less than a right angle. We have an obtuse angle more than a right angle.
et nous
And as far as our behavior with others is concerned, we are expected not to have acute angles with others, not to have obtuse angles with others, have only right angles with others. What does this mean? Pythagoras teaches us our emotional behavior with others. Using our thought, word or deed in a pungent or a pricking or insulting way, so that the other person is hurt by us, it is called acute angle. He says, don't have acute angles with others. And if we have carelessness, brutality, roughness, not to understand others' difficulties, a rough and beastly way of behaving with others, that is called obtuse angle. Don't have an obtuse angle with others. There is a way of behaving with others where there is no acute angle or no obtuse angle. Then you will have the right way of behavior, which is called the right angle. And it is considered to be a symbol of equal distribution of space. And to represent this, he expressed it in such a way. This is the ideograph of this picture represented in number by Pythagoras. Then we have to meditate. We cannot bring out the meaning of this into words and sentences, and one person cannot teach to the other. Up to this point only one can teach another. Then everyone is expected to receive according to his own openness. So this is one peculiar teaching Pythagoras had. That is, initiating people into virtues and the experience of virtues through number and geometrical form. This is a very peculiar way of teaching. The method itself is age old, and he received it from his teachers. But his uniqueness lies in his receiving them in such a beautiful way. Whereas many hundreds of people who have undergone this spiritual training failed to receive in such a perfect way. Only very few people received like him. Still less number of people transmitted it to others in proper manner. Now we have something more about this teaching. We will come to that in the subsequent classes. We will go to the next teaching. Another peculiar statement of Pythagoras, which is of profound significance, is his formula of 6 hours in the day. He said, it takes 6 hours for the quadruped to become a human fellow. So the evolution from a 4-legged being to a 2-legged being is 6 hours. So it is very short. What he means is the position of east and west indicates horizontal, and to a quadruped the vertebral column is horizontal, and gradually it has to stand and become a man. To a human being, the vertebral column is vertical, and the evolution from animal kingdom to human kingdom is 1/4 of the whole evolution, biological evolution of this earth. If you call the whole evolution a day in its technical sense, this is 1/4 of the day. If that day has its own 24 hours, this evolution takes 6 hours of that 24 hours. So the day is different from our solar day. Here day means the day of evolution. If you take the mineral kingdom and then take the plant kingdom somewhere here, and then animal kingdom, you can trace the human kingdom on the midday or the meridian where Pythagoras expressed there is no shadow. That is, until you reach such a stage where there is no following of your shadow, then only you are a legitimate human being, and not before that. Though we have 2 legs, though we stand erect, if we have something to follow our shadow, we are not yet at the height of human evolution. So if we mark that point as our human birth, then from the animal kingdom to the realized human consciousness, it is 1/4 of the total evolution. And from the mineral kingdom to the human kingdom, it is half of evolution. And what about the other half? Here we have the intelligences of nature working out the properties of the various minerals and the nuclear and atomic activity of nature, and from them the mineral kingdom is evolved, and they are called devas in the scriptures. They are also called the angels and archangels in the scriptures. They are playing in the garden of God. That means they are the helpers of this creation, and they produce the mineral kingdom of our earth. It takes the evolution, and then there is the awakening into the plant kingdom, then there is the awakening into the animal kingdom, then there is the next awakening into the human kingdom, and then the human kingdom once again working with the devas and planets in the modern age about the Occidentals. By the Occidentals. Many masters of astrology, but many of them we find masters in bookmaking, making the number of pages more and more, making the volumes more and more, adding to the colorfulness of the books. They are all not masters of astrology, but they are masters of money making. But this one sentence of Pythagoras teaches us something more than all these volumes about the nature and the purpose of planets. It is only for us to spend more time with his teachings, to think of it, to present the mind to these ideas more and more leisurely. Next teaching. God has created days. Man has created good days and bad days. This is another of his statements. What does it mean? We do something good and we experience its results. It is called the good day. We do something bad and we experience its result. We call it the bad day. So, we eat the fruits of the seeds we sow. The law of karma, the law of retribution, the law of cause and effect. That is what he means. So, only he could express better than everyone could express. He expressed what all the masters expressed, but he expressed in a way which the other masters generally could not express. So it shows his compassion for the ignorant. He knows what we are. Therefore he knows how he should teach. So he has given in such a wonderful language. Let us go into the next statement. Instead of talking something, silence is better. And instead of silence, talking something meaningful is better. That means if your speech is of some use to you or others, then you can speak. Otherwise, you can keep silent. It is very, very difficult, especially in the 20th century, noted for its intelligence. Say, we go on speaking many valuable things which are not useful things. We cannot keep quiet. We go on discussing. We take pleasure in questioning and discussing, dilating things, making a conversation of simple things. That is, creating problems out of no problem. But here, Pythagoras is merciless. He says, keep silent if you cannot speak something significant. So it is a bit merciless, especially in the 20th century. And next statement he says, think before you throw a stone. Think before you throw a word. This is another of his statements. After throwing a stone, what's the use of our thinking? I ought not have done it. That means once again proving that we are stupid. Same thing with word also. I ought not have used the word stupid. What's the use of thinking after using it? So he says, you can throw a stone, but see that it is safe place and safe time. And is it safe for you to do it? Otherwise, it is like a boy standing under a tree full of fruits, thrown a stone up and waited for the fruit, and the stone returned to his teeth. So, the same will be the consequence if we throw a word, a sentence. Every conversation has its own significance, good or bad, waiting its own day and hour to complete its journey and return to us. Sometimes by the time the result touches us, there will be so much of time lag that we cannot imagine that it is the result of our own. Then we believe that much harm is done by others. This is one of his teachings. I think we will continue tomorrow. Thank you all. We will meet here, I think, in the same time tomorrow, 9:30. Flat. If this is like this, we can continue. If there is some more disturbance, it is better to change it. Tomorrow also we will see, because it is calm now. 11 o'clock. Yes. Even today they stopped it early. No, if it is course, it's no disturbance. If it is some dance and music, you can change it. What is the program there? All right, we'll see tomorrow also. Today it is quite calm. We are not disturbed. If it is like this, we can continue. Today we will take up some of the leading points of the syllabus of his teachings and the peculiar way in which he transmitted his wisdom to his students. For example, yesterday we have seen one of his cryptic statements that the time of evolution between a quadruped and a biped is 6 hours. And almost he used the same type of technique to transmit his teachings. And he believed that the language we use is only one key, and there are more keys to wisdom than the language we use. He named the keys in the following way: sound, shape, color, number. These are the 4 main keys through which nature expresses itself into the living beings, or the living beings learn about nature and their environment and about each other through these 4 keys. And what we call the word exists in all these 4 stages. And the 5th being what we call meaning or significance. But generally speaking, we use language which can be spoken and heard, having only sound as one key for the meaning we want to transmit. Whereas we do not synchronize the other 3 with the sound we produce. So, if we use exclusively sound only as our language, for example, if we speak and listen to teach or learn or to understand each other, then he called it the language of the human beings. And he made another statement which is peculiar. The language of the humans is 1/4 of the language of the gods. This is another sentence he has given. By this, what he means is the language of the total keyboard of nature is the language of nature or the language of gods. And when we use only the sound, we automatically attach our own language meaning to it. For example, the English speaking fellow, he attaches his own English meaning to the sounds he produces, and the French attach the French meaning, the Russian attaches the Russian meaning, the Sanskrit attaches the Sanskrit meaning, and the one cannot understand the other. That is where the consciousness is divided among the human beings. It is where language becomes a barrier. The consciousness of every living being the same, the sounds being common to all, the meaning we attach to the sounds makes us unable to understand each other. This is the meaning of the story of Babel. And Pythagoras means that what we call the meaning of a sentence is what one wants to transmit from one person to another. And the language we use has our own language barrier, and people of two languages cannot understand each other. Therefore, he called it the language of the humans. Whereas the fourfold keyboard, which is common to not only the human beings but also the other beings, he called it the language of gods. Here, by gods, he means the devas of the Indian scriptures. So, if there is color, the insect and the beast and the animal and the human being, they all respond to color. They all respond to the sound. They all respond to the shape. For example, the dog recognizes its master different from others. This is a proof of the animals responding to shapes. And every living being responds to numbers. Even a little child who does not know anything of numbers has an instinctive knowledge of numbers and responds to number, because no one of these things are man-made and numbers are not discovered by the human being. They exist in nature long before the human being existed on this earth. This is one of the teachings of Pythagoras about numbers. He has a peculiar definition of numbers. He says, numbers are among the properties of space and time. They exist in space and they germinate in time. Another definition of Pythagoras about numbers is, numbers are intelligences working in nature. These are some cryptic sentences of Pythagoras about numbers. They may appear very strange to us because numbers are considered to be man discovered in the modern age. But when you go into the scriptures, they hold exactly the view which is held by Pythagoras. Numbers exist in nature as the creative intelligence. See, take two children to whom numbers are not yet taught. Give one 2 chocolates and the other 6 chocolates. The first one is angry and he throws them away and cries. This is a direct proof that numbers exist long before human mind exists and long before the human being teaches. Numbers exist in the mind also. They automatically operate in our mind. To this effect, there is an explanation in the ancient Indian scriptures. There is a creative intelligence in nature who is a deva in nature who presides over numbers. He is called Kapila in scriptures. It is said he begins to work in the embryo to produce fixed number of organs in the body. For example, if we have 2 hands, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 5 fingers to each hand, 5 toes to each foot, can you not understand that there is an intelligence working with numbers in the embryo? If the embryo is prepared with 32 teeth, can't you understand that there is an intelligence working with numbers in the embryo? Similarly with the plants and the animals also. If the chromosomes, number of chromosomes in each species is fixed, can't you understand that numbers are working in nature and that numbers are not man-made? And this deva called Kapila, he works in the embryo to produce the required fixed number of organs in the body. For example, the number of bones in the vertebral column, the number of ribs, etc. And then after the whole organism is created, when the construction is complete, he goes into a center on the vertebral column and he makes his lodge or abode in it, and he begins to work through the human being from the time he is born on earth, as a result of which the human being begins to work with numbers. This is the philosophy of numbers according to ancient Indian scriptures. And there are many stories revealing to us the secrets of the deva called Kapila. He is described as the one who established on earth